countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Through me you pass into the city of woe. Through me you pass into eternal pain. Through me among the people lost for justice the founder of my fabric moved. To rear me was the task of power divine, supremest wisdom and primeval love. Before me things create were none, save things eternal, and eternal I endure. All hope abandon ye who enter here.
I got goosebumps. It's the Last Comic Shop podcast. That's right. Straight from hell. We're going to hell this week. And we're taking you with us. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. I'm joined by J.A. Scott, who just gave us that amazing reading from Dante's Inferno. J.A., for those folks that are playing along at home, what part of Dante's Inferno is it?
That was from Canto 3. But yes, we are talking about hell, but not Dante's hell. We're talking about the Greek hell, the hell of Hades.
That's right. With another absolute book. It was Chad Smith's pick this week. He is my other co-host joining us this week, and he picked Absolute Wonder Woman.
That's right. I didn't want to abandon all the oldies and the moldies out there that might have been skipping these Absolute books because they're all overhyped. All these kids love these Absolute books, but I'm here to tell you it's with good reason.
That's very true. You know, again, it was up for an Eisner Award again this year for Best Continuing Series. Absolute Wonder Woman. It's about time that we read something other than Meatball Batman when it came to the Absolute series. And we're also joined by Zach Thompson from Thompson's Comics Corner this week because he could not resist the siren's call of some Absolute Wonder Woman. Is that correct, sir?
Oh, I love this series. So as soon as I got the text saying, hey, you want to be on the show? I'm in.
So we're going to get to that. The first trade of Absolute Wonder Woman. So for those folks reading along in the single issues, that's the first 7 issues. But as we often do on the Last Comic Shop, we want to start off with a salvo to get you all geared up for our conversation on today's podcast. And so we're going back to listener comments. That's right. We've already had 300 shows in the books, but it's oftentimes, from those shows that folks like to leave us comments and say, hey, what about this? Or I was listening to an episode. Did you guys think about this or whatever? And it was very, very popular. We did this like a couple months back during our Star Trek Red Shirts show. And again, after we did it, like all of a sudden, people started leaving us more comments. So in the hopes of continuing this trend,
people just want to get on air, man. They're just
No. Listen, so am I, but I'll take any feedback I can get. It's always nice to know. We put this out there into the internet vacuum, and it's like, wait a minute, people are paying attention.
It's the podcast equivalent of like running behind the live TV news feed.
Making faces behind the anchor.
Listen, there are folks that like listening to our show, and they like listening to comics. Zach Thompson. He is now on our show because he was a listener initially. He loved listening to the show. And then obviously, I need to create my own podcast. I need to show up on the show. Who knows? You might be like Zach Thompson and show up on the Last Comic Shop podcast someday if you leave comments like some of these folks. And we're going to go start off with actually a comment that was left based on the Red Shirt show. So this doesn't have to do with Star Trek, but it does have to do with a conversation that we had on the Star Trek Red Shirt show, all about American comic books and where things were going wrong. Right? It was based on a comment that somebody else left about Absolute Batman. See, there's all this kind of synergy going on. And it comes from Naughty Hieroglyph 669, who, in commenting about whether or not manga or American comics was more popular, he said, well, let's see. For $6, you get a full-color pamphlet or for the same price, you get 3 times the story, better quality story, and better art just in black and white. Da da da! My goodness. Some
Shots
scathing
fired.
remarks
Yeah.
about American comics compared to mangas. So I'm going to throw it out to you, gentlemen, first. Initial thoughts on this particular comment.
Well, depending on the writer, yeah, you get 3 times as much in the manga, but like half the amount of words. Unless you count all the yas and hayas and ah.
Wow, yeah, I can't say I disagree. Although I was distracted by that username. It's hard for me to make eye contact now. But no, it's a legit point. Like American comics, the bang for the buck isn't as nearly as much. Like it's a very cost prohibitive hobby to get into, and like heaven forbid you're just trying out books. Like they're so expensive now. Like I understand the frustration of like, oh, these cost so much and you only get what, 1/5 of a story, 1/6 of the story sometimes.
That's why we have dollar bins.
Oh,
That's
snap.
true. That there are lots of economical ways to get your comics, but for me, it's all about the characters and the connections. And it's I love these characters. It's so much easier for me to connect to a Batman or a Wonder Woman or a Spider-Man than it is to, even a Monkey D. Luffy or I don't know. It hits for me. It lands for me. It's worth my buck, and I'm often out there digging in those dollar bins anyway. So I don't know, Zach. What do you think of the manga American comics debate?
So to be honest with you, I think I've only probably read maybe like 3 mangas. And yes, you get a longer story, and that's awesome. Yeah, because the average American comic, you get what, like 24 pages? But like you said, I'm more comfortable with like the Spider-Mans or the Batmans or, something that I'm more along the lines like I'm going to go pick that up versus the Haya mangas, as you put it. I can't get into it.
It's true, and I do want to say that as somebody that reads both manga and American comics, I am a little bit frustrated with the lines that people draw in the sand that you have to like one or the other. That there is like some sort of it's kind of like the Marvel DC thing. Like what you like, you can like all of it. You can have your pie and your ice cream. You can have your cake. You can have it all if you really want to.
Too.
Yes. If you're going to draw a line in the sand, at least draw it with a Naruto run.
But what I will say, this comment it confused me a little bit because he was he talking about like, I don't know, like a Shonen Jump weekly, which is kind of more an anthology magazine with a bunch of different stories in there? Or was he talking about like the taco bonds? You go out to Walmart, you spend $8-9, you get like a volume of One Piece or Demon Slayer or whatever, and it has basically 3 volumes of a collection in there. Is that what he's talking about in terms of you get more bang for your buck? Because if that's what he's talking about, I don't think that's a fair comparison between a single issue and a taco bond, which is in essence a trade paperback, which we have and you can get now thanks to the DC Compact Collection and or the new Marvel version. You can get those for like $10, the equivalent of a taco bond collection.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if, and that's a relatively recent phenomenon. I think manga's done a much better job of getting stuff out there affordably, and so I think it's a tough point to argue, but at the end of the day, would I rather spend more money on something that I'm going to be able to connect with? Yeah, because that's what I care about. Right. And so not to say there's anything bad about manga or anything's wrong with manga. We've all said like what you like, but when you find that thing you connect with, buy that. And whatever the cost is, as long as you can afford it and pay your bills at the end of the month, good on you.
Well, let's move on in the interest of time to our next listener comment and talk about somebody that likes what they like. This one came from our X-Force episode, in which we had Catherine Ann Summers, E616, who said, "Really glad I found this episode of your podcast. One of my favorite subjects is my sweet angel, Nathan." Oh, Nathan Summers.
I was going to ask, which Summers is she?
Which one is she? And which Nathan does she like? Does she like all the Nathan Summers? Does she like Kid Cable? Does she like Old Man Cable? Does she like the baby Cable that was like before he was junted off into the future? I mean, it's neat that somebody loves a character, especially. And this, I'll say this: there seems to be these little communities out there, especially around X-Men characters. Which, my gosh, there's like Psylocke one. JA is the president of the Magic Appreciation Fan Club. I feel like these X-Men characters, boy howdy, they'll fight. They'll fight for their favorite X-Men.
I wonder how she feels about Strife.
So you don't need a crystal ball to predict the obvious, JA.
So my question to the three of you, is there a particular X-Man that you would go to the mattresses for? I know J.A. might mention Magic, but I'm wondering if there's a second one. Think outside of the Magic box for just a hot second, J.A. See if there's a second one on your list. But we're going to start off with Zach. So, Zach, is there an X-Men that you would join a fan club surrounding?
Well, since the last time, the X-Force episode, I actually have read more X-Men books or related books. I did read Magic, and I really liked it. I've recently started reading Moonstar. I love Wolverine, so I'd have to go Wolverine. I know that's like, your basic X-Men, but that's who I like.
Okay. Well, and that's fine. He's very, very popular and for good reason. So nobody is ever going to say that just because you like toast doesn't mean toast isn't good. You know what I mean? Like, toast is delicious. Lots of people like it, but that doesn't mean it's not delicious. We're going to go to Chad next. Chad, is there a X-Men you're going to go to the mattresses for?
It's weird you say mattresses. I've always heard you go to the mat. You're obviously thinking of something else, which is a whole different type of show. I've always been a fan of Iceman and and Firestar from Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends. So those are two characters where if I see them in a book, I'll make sure I check them out. And because of my love for X-Force, anytime I see Sam or Berto, I will give those books some play as well. Like, going back to Cable, for me, so often, like, the characters have been messed with so much. Like, Cable was so cool when he started. Like, 90s Cable was the biggest, like, toughest, like, just had the cyborg Terminator stuff going on, had psychic powers and all this other wacky, wild stuff. And it just seems like over time, all of the X books tend to get convoluted, and every now and again there's that reboot or refresh. But I'm waiting for the next train, I guess. I'm waiting for the next big reboot to get me into some of these characters, because it hasn't happened to me for a minute.
Okay, before we get to JA's answer, I think I'll throw my hat in and say, initially I was going to say Alex Summers, Havoc, but then I thought to myself, and honestly, other than Havoc's look, and maybe Outback X-Men, and maybe some parts of X Factor in the 90s, Havoc hasn't actually really had a lot of good books. He's a cool character, cool costume, hasn't really had a lot of great books. So I can't say him. So I don't know, maybe, is it cheating to say Scarlet Witch? I know she's not an X-Men, but she's a mutant. I don't think it's cheating, and I do buy her books. Fine.
Not even a mutant. They made her not a mutant.
No, she's always been a mutant. She just wasn't the daughter of Magneto. I'll say fine. Nightcrawler. I like Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's fun. I will buy a Nightcrawler book just because Nightcrawler's there. He always has. I read Excalibur just simply because Nightcrawler was in it. But J.A., you're the X-Men guy. What do you say?
I know. There's so many. I mean, I loved Outback Psylocke before she became a ninja, and then when they sort of split the two characters apart and Betsy Braddock became Captain Britain from her brother, that was pretty cool. Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, now Kate Pryde, has gone through a lot of different changes and different. She's a ninja at times, and she dressed up as a pirate for a while during the Krakoan age. Always liked Mystique. I was glad that she got her own series. And my Mystique is Rebecca Romaine. I'll go to the mats for Rebecca Romaine any day, all day.
The mats or the mattresses?
He'll stay on the mats for Rebecca Romaine. I'm sure he would. Get some Blue Chew. Any case, let's move on to the next listener comment here. We've got two more before we end this segment. This one comes from the Batgirl episode. Remember when we did Batgirl? Cassie Kane. I know J.A. is a big fan of Cassie Kane. Erica Co4GB, who said specifically about our comments about how Cassie Kane didn't speak a language. She said body language is a language. Very true, I guess. But the other one comes from Professor Hurt, who threw on some knowledge on me, because at the time I remember saying to myself that I was reading the Cassie Kane run on Batgirl. There were things that just didn't make sense. And so he wanted to just say to all of our fans out there that if you're reading the Cassie Kane Batgirl, just a heads up, if you're probably scratching your head and need to fill some holes, you were right to reread No Man's Land, but I was just thinking comics. The actual pieces I needed to read were the novelizations done by Greg Rucka. It's where Cass gets named by Oracle, which is they later retconned during the Gabrich run. So that kind of got me to this idea of novelizations of comics. Any of you guys ever read a novelization of a comic? Because he's asking
now we
us
find out if Chad read his Christmas present or not.
So not yet, but I have read other ones. Back in the 90s, there were a couple of big novelizations. There was the Nightfall one by Denny O'Neil. There was a Silver Surfer one I remember having. There were a couple that were like real books that just weren't as good as the comics. And so no, novelizations don't count. It's comic books. That's what it's all about, man. I need the words and the pictures and all that other fun stuff. So I appreciate that those novelizations are out there, but yeah, they don't get to be canon in my head.
I see. So, Zach, have you ever read a novelization as a comic book?
I read Pause, the Deadpool book. That's about as far as it goes. It also has an audiobook version, too, if you want to listen to the audiobook.
Okay.
So, Star Wars. All right. I've read the comic book series, the first, 11 issues. I had never watched the movie, ever. So, wow. I just recently watched the movie on May 4th for the first time ever.
Now, did you think you were doing it wrong, or which did you prefer?
I really liked the movie, but I feel like the comic book did a really good job because it just had a screenplay. It didn't really know what was going on. That's why if you notice in the book, the lightsabers don't have a color. They don't have two different colors, which I thought was really neat. Okay. So I had to get that confession.
J.A., I know you're our big book guy. Have you ever read one?
No, not a comic book version. But I figure that this person who is commenting is definitely in the Mikey Wood section of you don't just read the book. You have to read the 100 books that led up to it, or else you won't get the full picture. The problem I have with novelizations about some things, Star Trek novelizations are sometimes considered almost as good as the movie, especially the ones that are the odd movies. But the Star Wars novelization, I've been trying to read the original Star Wars by George Lucas, like the novel version, not the screenplay. And it's not the easiest thing to get through, even if you know where it's going. I'm just saying. So I'm guessing comics novelizations are a bit like that, but
I will say, that I'm not a huge fan of novelizations of comic books for the same reason I'm not a huge fan of novelizations of movies. I feel like the way that somebody ingests a certain story, whether you do it in movies, whether you do it in comics, whether you do it in book form, I feel like you should just do it in one form. And if it's the most popular form, then just stick with that. Like, I wouldn't read the Star Wars novelization because there's a movie, and I would just watch the movie again.
That's a slippery slope, though. What I mean, Maltese Falcon, the book is really good. The movie's also really good, so it is a slippery slope.
I never read any of the Game of Thrones books. So I ingested everything just in the TV show, and I understand that some folks think that the Game of Thrones books are better.
Oh, they are better.
Ethan is one of those folks. But at the same time, I thought to myself, if I'm going to ingest this story, I'm going to ingest it in this one way. From beginning to end, for better or for worse, that's the way that I ingested it. And like anything else would be just kind of like, meh. Speaking of Game of Thrones, let's get to the final comment here. And this one came from Jesse Sutton, who left us some comments about our Lone Wolf and Cub episode. Speaking of the whole idea of Lone Wolf and Cub being, this powerful warrior traveling across a very dangerous place with a child, and how we talked about how Mandalorian Grogu was pretty much the same idea, or Leon the Professional, or I think Ethan mentioned Walking Dead. Jesse Sutton threw out a bunch of other ones that maybe we didn't think of at the time. He said also Road to Perdition, both the comic book and the film. Also Bob's Burgers had an episode that paid tribute to Lone Wolf and Cub. And finally, again, from Game of Thrones, Arya and the Hound had elements of this, although Arya wasn't helpless. So before we finish listener comments, Chad, do you have any other ones talking about our Lone Wolf and Cub? Any other?
What's his name? Leo DiCaprio was on Growing Pains with Kirk Cameron. This sort of stuff happens all the time.
He was the substitute teacher.
I just want to shout out to Eugene Merman from Bob's Burgers. I hope he's doing okay. I know they had a big accident earlier this year. And so I'm a big Eugene Merman fan. Get well soon.
All right. Well, that's all the time we had for listener comments this week. We got to get the commercial break. We'll be back with more Last Comic Shop right after this with a review of Absolutely It's Wonder Woman. First 7 issues right after this.
Hello, Last Comic Shop podcast listeners. It is George from Shortbox Summary. The only thing I like more than reading comics is collecting comics, and the only thing I like more than collecting comics is taking care of the comics I've collected. And there is no better place to get bags and boards for your favorite, heck, even your least favorite comics than BCW Supplies. You can get all the bags, boards, boxes, frames, and more that you need to help keep your comic collection in its best shape. Listeners of this podcast can enjoy 10% off their order with code LCSPOD. That's LCSPOD for 10% off your entire order. Keep it tuned to the Last Comic Shop podcast for the best in comic stock and the best in comic book supply savings, courtesy of BCW.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're the hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health evaluation of comic book characters.
We also chat with some of your favorite creators,
Al Ewing,
Erica Schultz,
Gail Simone,
Philip Kennedy Johnson,
Chris Claremont,
about their work on comics.
So check out all our episodes at capesonthecouch.com and follow us at Capes on the Couch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hashtag
because comics.
Grab your magic lassos. It is now time for our Read Pile review here on The Last Comic Shop, brought to you by bcwsupplies.com. If you need to lasso up some savings on your bags and boards and boxes and all that miscellaneous comic book bric-a-brac, use our promo code LCSPOD at checkout. You'll save yourself 10% and help The Last Comic Shop in the process. That's right, LCSPOD at checkout over at bcwsupplies.com. And we're going to be talking about, I don't think it's Meatball Wonder Woman. It's more like Hellfire and Brimstone. It's awesome jazz is what it is. And it's the first 7 issues of the Absolute Wonder Woman series. Chad, who did these issues?
Well, they were all written by Kelly Thompson, who does a great job. But the first 5, we had Hayden Sherman on art duties. And then on issues 6 and 7, Mattia de Ilouis is how I'm going to say that name. And then we had Jordi Belair on colors for the first 5, Becca Carey on letters, and it looks like Mattia de Ilouis handled his own colors for issues 6 and 7.
10-cent synopsis from J.A. Scott. What happens in these issues?
The 7 issues, which is the first trade, actually encompasses 2 storylines. The first 5 issues are The Last Amazon. All the Amazons have been banished by Zeus, so there are no Amazons on Earth. There's no Themyscira. And she is raised by Circe in Hell, in Hades. And it's all about how strong she is, but also how caring and loving and empathetic she is. And this is mostly told through flashbacks, while on normal Earth, she shows up and helps fight off a couple of giant beasts that are coming to Earth because there are no Amazons to defend Earth. So she is the last one. She has to help defend Earth. There's a lot more magic involved. Maybe that's why I loved it so much. And then the last 2 issues, a 2-part storyline called The Lady or the Tiger, which is after she defeats this big creature in the first 5 issues, she gets pulled back into hell by Hades, who says, like, no, you're not supposed to be up there, so you're going to have to make a decision, either stay here or go up there, and Persephone's involved, and there's a lot of the Greek gods, a lot more than I think in a normal Wonder Woman book in these first 7 issues. So that's pretty much the 10-cent synopsis. But the book was not all over the place. It was either here or there. It was then and now, a lot of then and now. Kelly Thompson playing a lot with the flashbacks through the first 7 issues to great effect, I would say.
Well, let's get our initial thoughts from Zach Thompson from Thompson's Comics Corner. Make sure that you're also subscribing to his show after you get done with ours. But Zach, you said that you were a fan of this series. What did you think of the first 7 issues?
First off, when you open the book and the first time that we are introduced to Diana, she's a badass. The helmet, she's riding a skeleton Pegasus. Now, that's sick. That's the first time we're introduced. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to make this book suck. As soon as we're introduced, bang, right off the rip. And then I don't know. I find normal Wonder Woman was kind of like boring for me. It's a character that I never really got into. And it's just, I picked this book up because it's a fresh start. It was a whole new story. And her being from hell's cool. I mean, I'm a young guy, so this is like the young guy version. Go read the book. That's the best way to put it. Like, go read it. I don't want to ruin it. I don't know.
I will say that one of the nicest things that I'm noticing in a pattern of these Absolute books, and I think it was done by design based on what Chad's told me about the initial thought process, that this is some alternate universe where, like, Darkseid took away all the advantages that Batman and traditionally Superman and Wonder Woman would have. Being now this is the second series of Absolutes that we're reading here, I think that was a really good idea to start all of these books, because to be honest, all of these books, whether it's Absolute Batman or Absolute Wonder Woman, they tap into something that I think a lot of people like, which is the story of the underdog, the story of the person that's got to come from the behind, the person that didn't have all the advantages, wasn't out in front. Again, oftentimes with the established Wonder Woman that we have, she's kind of not just perfect, but how do I say it? Like, from the moment that she shows up, she's taking on these tremendous threats all by herself, no other Amazons to back her up. She's got a great mom, which is something I'll talk about later, which is one of my absolute favorite parts of this book, is the relationship between Wonder Woman and Cersei. Talk about really giving you a supporting cast that you care about. But, like, it's nice to see Wonder Woman struggle in a real way, to be the one that has to, like, stand up against all of this, just like the Absolute Batman. Every single victory he has, you're like, yeah, way to go. All right, let's go. Like, it gets you pumped up.
It's like the essence of what makes Diana, or what makes Wonder Woman has been condensed. You get rid of the fluff. You get rid of all the extra stuff. Steve Trevor doesn't even show up a lot, though he has a quintessential role in this book that I really enjoyed. He is the good man that needs to be the good man to bring her back from being Medusa. I like that little turn. They really focus not just on how badass and how strong, and she has all these different lassos that are from the blood of Prometheus and all this very cool stuff, admittedly. But I really like how they focused on the fact that she can make friends with all of these animals and make friends, and her empathy, her heart is what makes her who she is. And I think that sometimes that gets lost or glossed over
I think you're absolutely right. It's Wonder Woman is that beacon of heart, of hope, of, all those things that when Wonder Woman comes on the scene in the regular DCU, automatically, feel certain things. And like what this book does, it ratchets up that sense of empathy and that, Wonder Woman's going to find another way to approach these different monsters or kaiju or whatever in a way to deal with them, whether it's dealing with them with strength or whether it's dealing with them with compassion. But what this book adds that the other traditional Wonder Woman books don't, there's that sense of witchiness about it, right? You get that black magic, you get that sense of sacrifice. And we should put a sensitivity warning in here. There is a lot of self-harm in the practice of a lot of that magic. So if that's something you're sensitive to, that definitely is something to be aware of before you go into these books. But it's all about sacrifice. At one point, Wonder Woman chops off her arm to be able to defeat one of the monsters. Does it feel a little bit cheaper because she comes out with a magic arm the very next issue and that arm gets chopped off 2 or 3 other times before, you get in through the next trade? Sure. But I don't know. The sacrifice for each victory, there's something there that there's an impact, and you don't always see that in comic books. Even there's the story here where she turns herself into a Medusa. If you read through the rest of the book, there's the annual is her going back and settling things with Medusa and be like, listen, I was Medusa for like 10 minutes and it sucked so bad. It's her sense of empathy and able to see things from other perspectives that defines Wonder Woman. But by putting it in the scenario where it does involve coming from Hades and having to sacrifice so much each time along the way and still being able to forge those relationships. It's so impressive. It's such a beautiful thing to see in action.
Yeah, the whole reason why she lost her arm was because she cut it off so that Steve Trevor could go back to Earth, because Earth needed that one good man.
Yeah.
Now, he's the only man that she's ever met up until that point. How does she know that he's the one good man? Maybe there are other good men as well. She's only met one man.
I've got some comments about Steve Trevor overall. He was a little bit better in this series, but to be honest, I've never liked the character of Steve Trevor ever in any sort of Wonder Woman story. The more time we spent away from Steve Trevor, the better for me. I kind of like the hell things, but I don't know. He just... what I wanted to piggyback on, though, is a thought process that a lot of folks have had about Wonder Woman over the years, which I agree with. If you think about Wonder Woman and the history of Wonder Woman as a character, she's kind of a character that's been all over the map. Again, she started off with like this star-spangled, almost like American uniform. She fought in World War II. She's magic, yet she has, this patriotism. It's a lot of different stuff. And I think the nicest thing about Absolute Wonder Woman is they cut out everything that kind of didn't make sense about her character. They hit you with the magic, they hit you with the mythology, and they just left it at that. This character is a magic, mythical, supernatural-based hero. And we're going to tell stories that involve Greek gods and ancient monsters and witchcraft, sorcery, and we're going to tell that story. And that's all we're going to do, at least for these 7 issues. And I think that laser focus helps you like just digest this and be like, yeah, no, this is just a cool story about this awesome woman warrior that like was raised by a witch and has to fight Hades. And back to the Absolute Batman. I think Absolute Batman works because it's more focused on just one thing, the battle between Batman and eventually fighting the Joker. I think that's everything's leading up to that. I think it's laser focused. They just cut out all the superfluous stuff. I mean, you got to agree with that, Zach, as somebody that Wonder Woman never resonated with you, right?
Yeah, this story it's perfect. For somebody that had never really read the character, this gave me everything I needed to know and then some. So it's a perfect starter.
Just the way that Wonder Woman works in this story, it's very Squirrel Girl to me. And so that puts me firmly in the camp of Absolute Wonder Woman.
Ruined it for me.
Yeah. Squirrel Girl for you. Because she doesn't just talk out her problems. I mean, the way that she handles that giant fear of death, that was the best. Like this monster it'll inflict you with the fear of death. The fact that you would just like run towards its gaping maw and die.
Well, yeah, the whole is like, he's going to make a sound and you're all going to want to die because of that sound. So I'm going to make you all deaf.
Again, witchcraft, spells, like, again, laser focus. I guess to your point, Chad, she does give the thing a choice before she's like, you can leave or I'll kill you. But you can leave. Like, I'm giving you that choice. And thing sticks around,
Yeah,
so I guess.
Listen, when things get tough, Squirrel Girl's not afraid to eat nuts and kick some butts. But at the end of the day, she's much more likely to be compassionate to her adversaries and see things from their perspective and try to offer other viewpoints, whether it is dealing with Prometheus, who's chained up there and, getting him on her side. It's just she has a different angle to things where it's not just power, it's not just brute force, it's compassion. It's a willingness to look at things from different perspectives and to find the love therein. And so I love it. That's always been my bag. That no matter how bleak, no matter how desperate, to have that sense of hope, like it's inspiring to me, even more so with this version of Wonder Woman.
And it's all because of the positive upbringing. It's all because of the positive upbringing. Cersei is super mom extraordinaire in this book. I never gave a shit about Hippolyta. Never gave a shit about her at all. But in 7 issues, I gave a shit about Cersei. In that 7th issue, when she works with Persephone to figure out a way to come back and be able to visit with Cersei once in a while, my goodness, tears. Just because she's perfect. Reluctant at first, didn't want her, but like, you handle that snake pretty well. We'll see what happens. And she makes these comments about how, like, it's the time. You become a mother because of the time you invest in the child. As a dad, it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. You become a parent because of the time you spend with your children. Love it. My God. I just needed to say it. Getting verklempt here.
Cersei is a really great character because she does go full circle and she shows the impact that Wonder Woman has. Like, Cersei is not a character traditionally that you're going to have this sort of empathy for, but Diana shows up and makes her have these feelings just, by being there, by being who she is and being, like, that's the impact of Wonder Woman. That's the impact of the character. And so
what I like about Cersei is she instantly understands that the empathy and the heart existed at the very beginning within Diana. So her job when raising her is to temper and make her strong and be able to survive the world. You can't always just be empathetic and be hopeful. While that is good, you also need to have a big, big, big sword at times.
Sometimes even bigger than you thought.
Yes, and so she gives her all of that, all those weapons, both real and figurative.
As a result of that, they kind of fill in each other's gaps. She saw that there were natural talents to this person, but like, hey, you may not have talents here. I can add that. And Diana did that for her. These are things you're good at, but you're lacking in these things.
Yeah.
So I will bring that to the pot.
You're lacking in that arm. Let's get you going. We'll magic that stuff right up.
I like the Hephaestus arm. I think she should have kept that mech arm for at least a couple issues. Like, that was kind of cheap. I think of the first 5, I think that was like the one I was like, come on. Magic arm. At least wear that like robot arm for like a hot second.
Yeah. We were talking about Cable. He's got one of those cyborg arms. It's badass.
In case. One thing that is also badass is some of the folks that like to give us things for our commercial breaks. And so we're going to listen to them for a hot second while we collect our thoughts for ratings. We'll be right back with Last Comic Shop right after this with ratings and recommendations. So stay tuned.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Palatichuk. I'm an independent film director and screenwriter. I'm also an independent comic book artist and creator. I want to let you know about my podcast, the St. Paul Filmcast. It's a weekly podcast wherein I interview other independent filmmakers and other artists from the Twin Cities area. You can find the show on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon Radio, as well as distributor Podbean. You can follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So, if you're interested in how independent films get made or the process of filmmaking, also, if you're interested in other artists' process and works as well, tune into my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, where it's not over till the guests say it's over.
All right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we get the obligatory Wonder Woman theme just to make Chad mad. There you go.
Yes.
Will that be our rating scale sound effect? We'll see. J. Scott's got one for us for a 1 out of 4 scale for Absolute Wonder Woman, which you can get in a trade at your local comic book shop called The Last Amazon. J.A., what's our scale?
Well, there are only 3 of them so far, but maybe she gets another one made for her. Lassos. She had 3. They all had different names. They were all different colors. All the names were Greek, so you couldn't really read them unless you could read ancient Greek. Thank you, Kelly Thompson.
Well, I'm going to go first. Like Absolute Batman, I'm going to give this a 4. I want to put like an asterisk by it just simply because this isn't like the great all-time best comic books ever. I'm giving it a 4 because this is a comic book I really feel like everybody should read, right? I really think you should go out and pick up Absolute Wonder Woman, especially these first 7 issues. I think you'll really love it. I really loved it. I read all the issues probably in about an hour. I just couldn't put it down. It was really, really good. Will I say that it's perfect? That's where that asterisk kind of comes into. And there are some things I wasn't a fan of. And one thing I will very, very blunt with. I wasn't a fan of Hayden Sherman's art. I think the art in 6 and 7 had a much more classical look to them. And that's kind of what I want from Wonder Woman. It reminded me a lot of Wonder Woman Historia, those last 2 issues. And so I liked it more. I'm not going to say the first 5 issues art was terrible. It was fine. I didn't like the way that Steve Trevor looked. Again, I hate Steve Trevor, so maybe it just had to do with Steve Trevor, but like he kind of looked wimpy.
Steve Trevor is us. So maybe that's why you don't like him so much, because
everybody looked like they were blushing. I was just like, nobody blushes this much, but whatever. It's still a 4. You should read it. And Kelly Thompson, I hope, has a really, really, really long run on this because she's making me care about Wonder Woman. Not for the first time. There's been other good Wonder Woman runs, but this one's really, really good. Zach!
Oh, man, this is an easy 4. Same with all the Absolute titles, really. I mean, if you're reading any of them, they're all really good. But this one, man, Hayden Sherman's art, I can't believe you don't love it. I can't believe it.
Say that I didn't love it. Well, I kind of sort of did. I said that I like 6 and 7 more. If I had had that the whole way through, I would have been a happy camper.
Oh, I don't argue it. 6 and 7 are beautiful too. They're really good. But Hayden Sherman, man, I'm telling you, as soon as you open that book, we're first introduced to Diana. She's got the helmet and the Pegasus. It's sick. I loved it. I actually continued. I think I'm caught up to like issue 20 of this series. So like I've constantly read it. I love the crossover with Absolute Batman or Meatball Batman. For me, this just hit. I love it.
All right. Chad?
I've been giving Andy grief all week about not appreciating the Hayden Sherman art. For me, Hayden Sherman is a cross between J.H. Williams III. If you ever read the Batwoman when she was first introduced, like some of his page layouts are very reminiscent. And then I get a little bit of Norm Brayfogle, which will shine through a little bit in my recommendation. And then finally, a little bit of P. Craig Russell in the faces. But like I think Hayden Sherman does a masterful job as a storyteller. I think his page layouts are unique. In a world where so many artists look the same, and don't get me wrong, the art in issue 6 and 7, it was fine art. But There's nothing about that seemed truly distinct to me. And I long for the days where I could look at a book and tell you who the artist was at the very beginning without having to look at the credits page. And I think Hayden Sherman is special. I think Hayden Sherman has that look. He has that style. And is it a little bit weird sometimes? Yeah, but this book is a little bit weird sometimes. This book is a little bit dark, a little bit witchy, and I think it fits. It's the perfect package. And I don't want to undersell Kelly Thompson's writing either. She's doing a wonderful job. Just the whole squad putting this together. I do agree with you, Andy. This is something that if you were a fan of comic books, it's worth your time to check out. I don't know. When it's all said and done, depending on how this run goes, I think it could be some of the best up there. Some of the best Wonder Woman, some of the best comics in the last decade or two or three. I don't know. I think it's real good. Four lassos.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly Thompson has just been knocking it out of the park. It's Jeff's run on Birds of Prey. If she hasn't won an Eisner yet, she should get them all. Seriously, it's Four Lassos. It's great stuff. I didn't have a problem with the art as much as you did, Andrew. I liked it. It grew on me. At the beginning, it was, this is kind of sketchy, and then I kind of liked it, even if the noses looked a little weird sometimes, or the faces looked a little weird sometimes. I enjoyed that it didn't look cookie cutter. So much so that when we got the 2 fill-in issues, I kind of missed the original art, and I was glad I read on, and I was glad to see that the Hayden came back for issue 8. Which you can also now pick up in a trade. You can get the next run, the next set of books in a trade. At some point, we just have to have a conversation that I guess it's modern comicking, that you're going to get these 5-issue, 7-issue story arcs instead of the great 150, 200, I want my story arcs to be written for the omnibus, not written for the trade, but whatever. That's a minor gripe. It's great stuff. I liked it even better than Meatball Batman. Now, we haven't read the Superman book yet, or Flash, or Green Lantern, or there's a Martian Manhunter. We haven't read any of the other absolutes yet. This is the second one we've read on the show, but for me, it is cream of the crop. It's the best, by far, of these absolute stories. I highly recommend it. Get it in trade, get it in single issue, get it in trade and single issue, and digital. Just get it. It's so worth it. 4 Lassos.
Before we move on, Zach brought up the absolute Batman and Wonder Woman crossover. And if you're somebody that's, you want to compare and contrast, I think both books do a great job in their respective issues. Like, they're 2 separate stories, but they're a continuation, but they really sum up the essence of what those books are about. Like, in the Batman one, it's like, now it's time for the violence. Yeah. And then in the Wonder Woman one, it's a more thoughtful, but they're both great in their own right. So,
and maybe that is why the Hayden Sherman art didn't resonate with me, because the first time I ever read any Absolute Wonder Woman was actually in the issue drawn by Nick Dragotta. So that was the Absolute Wonder Woman that I was introduced to. And if I got to say, out of the 3 artists we read, Nick Dragotta's Absolute Wonder Woman, that's mine. Nick Dragotta could draw anything, and I'd be a happy camper. Case. One thing that I'm hoping that all of you are happy campers about is our recommendations. This is our time of every single show where we give you other comic books. In addition to Absolute Wonder Woman, you can pick up the first 7 issues in a trade, the last Amazon. It's out there. You can try to find the single issues. I actually found a couple of them at my library. They were having a bag of comics for $15, and they had a couple issues from this particular run, so I snagged them. In any case, we're hoping you snag these things, and we're going to start off with J.A. Scott. J.A., what are people snagging from your recommendation pile?
Well, if you like women who are fierce and employ the use of magic and have big off swords, then have I got a superhero for you. That's right, it's magic. It's magic. I would say anything, but I guess we're going to go with the X Infernus storyline, which you can get in trade if you can find it in single issues. It was a 4-issue miniseries that essentially brought magic back. Colossus went to Limbo, which is the Marvel equivalent of hell, to bring her back. And she was Darkchild for a lot of it and didn't really want to come back. He brings her back, and she's sort of dealing with the trauma of living in Limbo for such a long time as Darkchild, as an adult. This isn't the original Magic storyline. This is 2008, so mid-2000s. Great art by Giuseppe Camicoli, with writing by C.B. Cebulski before he went Asian.
All right. Zach, what do you have for us this week?
Do you like murder mysteries? Do you like the 1930s? Do you like Vertigo? And if you like the Dollar Den Dive, because I found all 4 issues in the Dollar Den, well, then I got you covered. My pick is go get Sandman Mystery Theater, Act 1, The Tarantula. Guy Davis is one of my favorite artists. It is beautiful art. It kind of reminds me of like Batman The Long Halloween. A little bit grittier, but same concept. Now, granted, if you like clean faces, he's not your guy, but everything else is beautiful. Matt Wagner writes really good 4-part stories. Great storyteller. Fun hunting. You can go hunt it. You can get it in trade paperbacks. I have trade paperback. I have all 4 regular issues, and I have the compendiums, so you can get it anywhere.
There you go. Well, one other thing that you can get the other ways, if everybody remembers that it was Gotham by Gaslight, right? It was a very famous DC Elseworld story where they basically were, what if Batman was in Victorian London times or whatever? And then later on, DC was like, that's a cool idea. Let's see what would happen if there were all the other superheroes. And so they put out a series, I think it was last year, it was called Batman Gotham by Gaslight Kryptonian Age, where they introduced like Superman that would be in the Victorian area. They gave you the Wonder Woman, and she's kind of badass. She comes from the underground. There's some guitarists, the place, where Warlord comes from, whatever. And then they came out with another sequel just recently. This is Batman Gotham by Gaslight League of Justice, where they're like, now we've introduced all the characters, let's make a Justice League out of them. And so you get these 6 issues done by Andy Diggle with art by Leonardo Fernandez. And it tells the story of like the Batman from Gotham of Gaslight and the Superman who's like a sheriff in Kansas. You get this Green Lantern that used to be con man, shyster going on the rails, and now he's got the Green Lantern ring. You get this Martian Manhunter that is like the last alien from Mars, kind of like the John Carter kind of stuff going on. But they all fight against a Lovecraftian version of Darkseid. So they're like, what if, like, instead of Cthulhu, the big threat was like whether Darkseid will come back to the planet Earth and take over everything. And so like Lex Luthor and I guess General Zod, they're all trying to bring back this Cthulhu-esque Darkseid. And so the Justice League has to stop them. And you get all there's a Cyborg, there's a Flash, there's all these characters. So you get the true Justice League all done in kind of that Victorian London / early 1900s versions. So it's really neat. It's a cool thought experiment, and I really enjoyed it. So check it out. It's Gotham by Gaslight, League of Justice. They're probably going to do another series because, this is something they can mine for a really long time. Chad, wrap us up.
You got it. So my recommendation is going to be the other book that was in the running this week for our repile, but Andy was like, we already have a lot of Batman books, so I'll save it for here. It's Batman Dark Patterns by Dan Waters and Hayden Sherman. This was a 12-issue maxi series that came out last year, I want to say 2024 into 2025. Each 3 issues is its own separate story, but it all comes in together. But this is the series. It has Hayden Sherman on art, just like Absolute Wonder Woman. But here he gets to stretch his Batman muscles in a run that is reminiscent of the 90s Batman the Animated Series. It's reminiscent for me of the 70s when you brought in the Englehart Rogers and Terry Austin, and they, defined Batman's villains again and made him into the detective one more time. Like, I don't know. It was just what makes Batman great. But you get characters like the Wound Man is introduced, and he's this guy who has all these nails and things sticking out of his vital arteries. So if Batman hits him, he's going to kill him. And Batman knows he can't kill him, so he doesn't want to hit him, but he has to find some other way to solve the problems around it. It's just tons of great stuff. I know I've recommended it before, but really, especially after looking at Absolute Wonder Woman again, this brings all the same energy that makes Wonder Woman so great in a Batman form. And it's easy for it to be overlooked. And so I definitely think it's worth your time checking out Batman Dark Patterns.
And we hope that you check out more Last Comic Shop. And the easiest way to do that is going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing so you get not only more Read Pile reviews, but more recommendations all this summer. Next week, we've actually got another movie review. It might be, no, there's probably going to be one more with the Avengers Doomsday. I'm still hoping that actually comes out this year. It would be really weird if they pulled the plug by this point. But we've got Spider-Man Brand New Day. So we'll have the movie review for that, as well as a Spider-Man comic book to pair with that. Shh, it's a surprise. Chad's going to get to pick that one as well.
Are you saying we're not going to do a movie review for Dune?
It comes out the same day as Avengers Doomsday, so you can do your movie review on that. You can show up. That could be your recommendation.
There we go. Doomsday. It's not Doomsday. It's Doomsday. Also, I want to point out that Doomsday is not related to anything Doonesbury, unfortunately.
He won a Pulitzer. Damn it.
What a Pulitzer.
But make sure that you're checking out that episode next week, as well as all the rest of the episodes this summer, with more Last Comic Shop over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
And while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop, so we encourage everybody to get out there and support your local comic shops by buying all those wonderful books we were talking about. Whether that is Absolute Wonder Woman, which is all the hotness these days, or Ex Infernus by C.B. Cebulski and Giuseppe Camicoli, which that's just so fun to say. Or Sandman Mystery Theater, which, Zach, I will attest, I have found those issues in the buck bins, as well as seen the compendiums and the collections. So Matt Wagner's always awesome. Guy Davis, sorry, you can't go wrong. Or Andy's pick of Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, and the follow-up to that, The League of Justice. It's just great spending time in that universe. Or Batman Dark Patterns. All that and more waits for you at your local comic shop, so make sure you check those folks out. And then once you're done, you can circle back, talk to us on social media. We had listener feedback today. We'd love to get more feedback. We appreciate hearing from all of you, what you like, what you didn't like, what you think of the stuff we read. All that really helps to drive us and keep us going, as well as continue to check out our shows. So go to the website, www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find links to social media things. You can find links to the shows, and you can find links to the merch store. Jay, what do we got this week?
T-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, and this week, a special on helms. That's right. Not enough people wear helms these days, so if you need a helm when you're fighting those ancient Greek monsters, pick it up with the Last Comic Shop logo on it.
Like Ed helms?
Could you get... I was going to say, couldn't you buy like a ball cap and like, I don't know, dip it in molten lava or something and it hardens, or I don't know. Like,
do you have a lot of molten lava about to dip things in? What
you never know what people have in their backyards. Don't lava shame people that collect lava.
Lava shame.
Lots of people collect podcasts, and in addition to ours, we hope that you collect the podcast done by Thompson's Comics Corner. Zach Thompson was our guest this week. Zach, where can people listen to your wonderful podcast every single week?
YouTube and Spotify. There, I upload every Friday, and then on Thursdays and Tuesdays, we're also on Outer World Radio, which is like a streaming radio service.
Very cool. So if you love comic book reviews, make sure that you're checking out that show. Some of us often get on that show, so if you like The Last Comic Shop, we're guest stars there. Sometimes there's other folks, like Mikey Wood's been on that show before. George from Shortbox Summary's been on that show before. So it's great. Make sure that you're checking out Thompson's Comics Corner today. And make sure that you're picking up your comic book supplies. And JA, what's the best way people can do that?
by heading over to bcwsupplies.com and using the promo code LCSPOD at checkout. You save yourself 10% on boards, boxes, and all other comic book supplies.
There you go. And until next week, when we hope that you come back to the shop, I was the host with most, Danny Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott and Chad Smith, as well as Zach Thompson from Thompson's Comics Corner. And we hope that you stay safe, stay mythological. Go ride, I don't know, a Pegasus made of bones and fight some harpies, get magical Medusa's powers, and then you can also have statues in your backyard. You can have people over to barbecues, and then they just never leave. That got dark real fast. You have the molten lava back there. You might as well. They can be like features around your lava pits.
It's got to be some kind of safety violation.
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.